Keto diet. It's high fat, low carb, and it'll make you smell like nail polish remover. Now, a lot of you might expect me to define this diet as the one where people become absolutely obsessed with bacon and cheese, while acting like bread is literally poison. And as much as that's extremely accurate, keto is actually based on some real science. The ketogenic diet forces your body into ketosis, which is basically when your body runs out of carbs to burn and starts eating its own fat for energy. It's like when your phone battery dies and it switches to power saving mode, except instead of dimming your screen, your body starts breaking down fat cells and making your breath smell like acetone. Keto has this massive cult following because people lose weight fast, like really fast. But that's mostly water weight disappearing because carbs hold on to water like a clingy ex. The diet originated as a medical treatment for epilepsy in the 1920s, but now it's been hijacked by people who think vegetables are the devil. The biggest downside? Keto flu, where you feel like absolute garbage for the first few weeks as your body learns to function without its favorite fuel source. Mediterranean diet. This is the diet that makes everyone feel fancy and cultured. The Mediterranean diet is basically eat like you live in a beautiful coastal village where everyone lives to 100 and looks amazing doing it. And honestly, the research backs it up. This diet is all about olive oil, fish, vegetables, whole grains, and moderate amounts of wine, which is probably why it's so popular. It's based on the traditional eating patterns of countries like Greece, Italy, and Spain, where people have been eating this way for centuries and have some of the lowest rates of heart disease in the world. What I love about the Mediterranean diet is that it doesn't feel like punishment. You're not cutting out entire food groups or counting every calorie. You're just eating real food that tastes good and happens to be incredibly healthy. It's like the diet equivalent of that effortlessly cool person who makes everything look easy. The only downside is that good olive oil is expensive, and if you're not careful, all that healthy fat can still make you gain weight. But compared to most diets, this one actually feels sustainable. Intermittent fasting. This isn't technically a diet, it's more like an eating schedule for people who want to feel superior about skipping breakfast. Intermittent fasting is when you alternate between periods of eating and not eating, and there are more variations than there are Starbucks drink combinations. You've got 16 to 8 where you fast for 16 hours and eat for 8. There's 5 to 2, 5 to 2 where you eat normally 5 days and barely eat 2 days. There's OMAD, 1 meal a day, for people who apparently hate food or love torture. And there's alternate day fasting for people who really commit to making their lives complicated. The science behind it is actually pretty interesting. When you're not constantly digesting food, your body gets a chance to do cellular cleanup and repair work. It's like giving your digestive system a vacation so it can come back refreshed and ready to work. But let's be real, for a lot of people, intermittent fasting is just an excuse to eat whatever they want during their eating window. Oh, I can have this entire pizza because I fasted for 16 hours. That's not quite how it works, but I admire the creativity. By the way, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so subscribe and drop a like for the algorithm. Paleo diet. The paleo diet is for people who think agriculture was humanity's biggest mistake, also known as the caveman diet. It's based on the idea that we should eat like our Paleolithic ancestors did, before farming, before processed foods, and apparently before joy. The rules are simple. If a caveman couldn't eat it, neither can you. So that means meat, fish, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds are in. Grains, legumes, dairy, and processed foods are out. It's like cosplaying as a hunter-gatherer, except you still get to use modern conveniences like grocery stores and cooking. Paleo enthusiasts will tell you this is how humans are meant to eat, conveniently ignoring the fact that our Paleolithic ancestors had a life expectancy of about 30 years and spent most of their time trying not to get eaten by saber-toothed tigers. That said, cutting out processed junk and eating more whole foods is generally a good idea. Vegan diet. The vegan diet is like the CrossFit of eating. People who do it will definitely tell you about it within the first 5 minutes of meeting them. But jokes aside, veganism is about more than just food. It's a lifestyle that avoids all animal products for ethical, environmental, or health reasons. From a purely nutritional standpoint, a well-planned vegan diet can be incredibly healthy. You're eating tons of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. The fiber alone will make your digestive system incredibly happy, and the antioxidants will make your skin glow like you've discovered the fountain of youth. The challenges come with making sure you get enough protein, B12, iron, and omega-3 fatty acids, nutrients that are traditionally easier to get from animal products. But with a little planning and maybe some supplements, it's totally doable. Carnivore diet. If veganism is one extreme, the carnivore diet is its polar opposite. This is for people who look at a vegetable and think, that's not food. That's what food eats. The carnivore diet is exactly what it sounds like. Eat only animal products: meat, fish, eggs, and sometimes dairy. Carnivore dieters claim this way of eating eliminates inflammation, improves mental clarity, and solves basically every health problem known to humanity. They'll tell you that plants are trying to kill you with their anti-nutrients and defense chemicals, as if broccoli is plotting world domination. The strangest part? Some people actually thrive on this diet. They report better energy, clearer skin, and improved digestive health, which is weird because it goes against pretty much everything we've been told about nutrition. But here's the thing. We don't have long-term studies on what eating nothing but meat does to your body over decades. Also, the environmental impact is pretty intense, and your grocery bill will make you cry. DASH diet. DASH stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, which is possibly the most boring diet name ever created. But don't let the unsexy name fool you. This diet is actually incredibly effective at what it's designed to do: lower blood pressure and improve heart health. The DASH diet is like the responsible, well-educated older sibling of all the other diets. It emphasizes fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and low-fat dairy while limiting sodium, red meat, and added sugars. It's not flashy or revolutionary, it's just solid, evidence-based nutrition advice. What makes DASH different is that it was specifically developed by researchers to combat high blood pressure, and the results are impressive. People following the DASH diet can see significant reductions in blood pressure within just a few weeks. The downside is that it's not really a weight loss diet, so it doesn't have the same appeal as something like keto or intermittent fasting. Atkins diet. Atkins is like the grandfather of low-carb diets. It was doing the whole carbs are evil thing way before keto made it cool. Created by Dr. Robert Atkins in the 1970s, this diet has been making people fear bread for decades. The Atkins diet has phases, like a video game where you unlock new foods as you progress. Phase 1 is basically keto, extremely low carbs, high fat, and protein. Then you gradually add back small amounts of carbs in later phases until you find your critical carbohydrate level for maintaining weight. What's interesting about Atkins is that it was one of the first diets to really challenge the low-fat dogma of the 80s and 90s. Dr. Atkins was basically saying, actually, maybe butter isn't the devil, while everyone else was eating fat-free cookies and wondering why they weren't losing weight. The diet works for weight loss because, well, when you cut carbs dramatically, you tend to eat fewer calories overall. Plus, protein and fat are more filling than carbs, so you're naturally less hungry. Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, now called WW because apparently we're too cool for full words, is like the McDonald's of diets. It's everywhere, everyone knows about it, and it's been basically the same for decades with occasional rebranding. The genius of Weight Watchers is the point system. Instead of counting calories, you count points, which somehow makes it feel less like math homework and more like a game. Foods are assigned point values based on their nutritional content, and you get a daily and weekly point allowance to spend however you want. What I actually respect about WW is the community aspect. They figured out early that dieting alone sucks, so they built in support groups, meetings, and now a whole app ecosystem. It's like having a cheerleading squad for your weight loss journey, except they actually know what they're talking about. The downside is that it costs money. Ongoing subscription fees for what is essentially a fancy calorie counting app with community features. Also, the point system can be gamed, and some people become obsessed with spending every single point they're allowed, rather than learning to eat intuitively. South Beach Diet. The South Beach Diet is what happens when a cardiologist tries to create a more sensible version of Atkins. Dr. Arthur Agustin created this diet because he was frustrated with how hard it was for his patients to stick to extremely low-fat diets. South Beach is like the middle child of low-carb diets. Not as extreme as keto or Atkins, but still focused on reducing refined carbs and sugar. It emphasizes good carbs versus bad carbs and good fats versus bad fats, which is probably more nuanced than most people want their diet to be. The diet has 3 phases. Phase 1 is pretty restrictive and lasts 2 weeks. Phase 2 gradually adds back some carbs, and Phase 3 is supposed to be your long-term lifestyle. It's designed to be more sustainable than extreme low-carb approaches while still delivering results. The problem with South Beach is that it's kind of complicated. There are a lot of rules about which foods are okay in which phases, and keeping track of all that can be exhausting. Flexitarian diet. The flexitarian diet is for people who want to be vegetarian, but also really love cheeseburgers. It's basically vegetarianism for commitment phobes. You eat mostly plant-based foods, but occasionally throw in some meat when you feel like it. The term flexitarian is a combination of flexible and vegetarian, which pretty much sums up the whole approach. You're vegetarian when it's convenient and you feel like it, but you're not going to stress about it if someone offers you amazing barbecue. What's actually smart about this approach is that it acknowledges that most people aren't going to go from eating meat every day to never eating meat again overnight. It's like training wheels for vegetarianism. You get most of the health and environmental benefits without the social complications or feelings of deprivation. Low FODMAP diet. The low FODMAP diet sounds like something a tech startup would name their product, but it's actually a legitimate medical diet for people with irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. FODMAP stands for fermentable oligosaccharides, disaccharides, monosaccharides, and polyols, which is basically a fancy way of saying carbs that make your gut angry. This diet was developed by researchers in Australia who figured out that certain types of carbohydrates are poorly absorbed by some people and can cause digestive issues like bloating, gas, and stomach pain. The low FODMAP diet eliminates these problematic carbs for a few weeks, then slowly reintroduces them to figure out which ones are causing problems. What makes this diet different is that it's not really about weight loss or general health. It's specifically designed to manage digestive symptoms. For people with IBS, it can be life-changing. Suddenly, they can eat without feeling like their stomach is trying to murder them from the inside. The challenge is that it's incredibly restrictive and complicated. You have to avoid things like garlic, onions, apples, wheat, and dairy. Basically half of all delicious foods. Whole30. Whole30 is like a nutritional boot camp designed by people who think regular diets aren't hardcore enough. For 30 days, you eliminate sugar, alcohol, grains, legumes, dairy, carrageenan, MSG, and sulfites. Basically, if it tastes good or makes life convenient, it's probably not allowed. The creators describe it as a short-term nutritional reset that's supposed to help you identify food sensitivities and break bad eating habits. The rules are strict. One slip up, and you're supposed to start over from day one, which seems unnecessarily harsh, but probably keeps people committed. It's more about changing your relationship with food and learning to eat more whole, unprocessed foods. The 30-day time limit makes it feel achievable, like a challenge rather than a permanent lifestyle change. Plant-based diet. The plant-based diet is like veganism's more chill cousin who doesn't judge you for your life choices. While veganism is often about animal rights and ethics, plant-based eating is usually focused purely on health benefits, though the foods are pretty much the same. Plant-based dieters eat primarily or exclusively foods that come from plants. Vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Some plant-based eaters are strict about avoiding all animal products, while others might occasionally include small amounts of fish or dairy. The research on plant-based diets is pretty impressive. They're associated with lower rates of heart disease, diabetes, certain cancers, and obesity. Plus, eating more plants generally means eating more fiber, antioxidants, and phytonutrients. All good things for your health. The main challenge is the same as with any major dietary change. It requires planning, learning new recipes, and potentially dealing with social situations where plant-based options are limited. Zone diet. The Zone diet was created by Dr. Barry Sears and is based on the idea that food is basically medicine that can control inflammation in your body. The goal is to reach the zone, a metabolic state where inflammation is minimized and your body functions optimally. The diet follows a 40-30-30 ratio, 40% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 30% fat at every meal and snack. You're supposed to eat this ratio every time you eat, which requires a level of meal planning that would make a military logistics coordinator proud. Dr. Sears claims that following this ratio will control insulin levels, reduce inflammation, and help you lose weight while maintaining mental clarity and physical performance. It's like trying to hack. But honestly, after explaining all these diets, the real question isn't which one is best. It's which one you can actually stick to without making yourself miserable, because the best diet is the one you can follow long-term without feeling like you're punishing yourself for the crime of being human. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here, so it would mean a lot if you subscribed. Also, watch another video from the channel by clicking on the screen.